Hello, my name is Paul Dansbach, and welcome to Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. Today, in this session, we're going to take a look at a one-story, ordinary constructed building with a heavy timber wood truss roof. Occupancy such as this, with a heavy timber wood truss roof, presents some unique challenges and hazards to the fire service. Let's take a walk inside and take a look at some of those hazards that are created by this type of occupancy. When we enter the building, we notice the wide open floor areas. The lack of interior columns is, in and of itself, an indicator that the building is constructed with some form of a truss. The wide open floor area was desirable for the manufacturing processes that occurred when this building was in use. The ceiling in this building complicates matters. The ceiling creates a combustible void space in the truss loft. Should a fire occur on the first floor of this occupancy, the fire in all likelihood will not have direct access to the trusses and may not involve the trusses in the beginning stages of the fire. One of the problems that's created by a building of this age is that parts of the ceiling may not be intact. Whenever the ceiling is open or the ceiling interior finish is missing, any fire on the first floor would have direct access up into the truss loft, and fire extension from the first floor into the truss loft will be almost immediate. As we look across the first floor of this building, we can see these trusses span across the building sidewall to sidewall in excess of 80 feet. One of the features that we can pick out inside the building is the areas of support, that is, where the trusses achieve their support. On this sidewall, we can see a column has been constructed into the exterior wall. This is an area where the trusses gain their support. The truss is supported on this column directly above the ceiling. As we've already discussed, the ceiling in this occupancy creates a combustible truss loft. The decision to fight a fire in this truss loft will be based upon the location of the fire and the extent of the fire in that truss loft. Several years ago, this building was the scene of a fire. The fire occurred in the truss loft. The source of ignition was some mechanical equipment that had been installed in the truss loft. This building is protected with an automatic sprinkler system. The day of the fire, the automatic sprinkler system held the fire in check. The sprinklers were operating on the fire. Therefore, the structural integrity of the trusses was maintained by the automatic sprinkler system holding the fire in check. Fire companies arrived and stretched hand lines up these stairs to the seat of the fire and extinguished the fire up in the truss space. Keep in mind that if you are going to access the truss space, you need to know how to access that truss loft. This is the stairway that the company stretched the line. Let's follow this stairway and see where it leads. Okay, we're up in the truss loft. A couple of points that we need to make up here. Number one is the height of the truss loft, the distance between the bottom cord and the top cord of the truss. In this building, it's approximately 10 to 12 feet and will vary depending upon the pitch of the truss. What that tells us is that we have a very significant, a very large truss loft. There can be quite a large volume of fire up in this area. That fire may be concealed by the ceiling that's installed on the bottom cord or at the bottom cord of the trusses. Another concern, if we are going to fight the fire up in this truss loft, another concern is going to be, do we have access across the trusses? In this building, and not every building will have the same feature that this building has, is a stairway. There's a stairway that leads to a walkway, and that walkway provided access to mechanical equipment that was in this truss space. That's a concern for us. Is there a suitable walking surface? Is there a suitable surface that's going to support the weight of firefighters stretching the line? That variable, that condition, that factor is going to be paramount to whether or not we can successfully operate in this truss loft. The absence of a suitable walking surface will almost make it impossible for firefighting crews to get up into the truss loft and move through the truss loft to access the seat of the fire to fight the fire. A view from the roof of this building reveals there are skylights on the building. The skylights provide an opportunity for a natural opening, for a firefighter to get up, make a quick vent, and get off the roof. Again, we must reiterate the caution that needs to be exercised while operating inside, in the truss loft, underneath the truss, or on the roof of a truss building. Incident commanders must be acutely aware of the fire conditions, the location of the fire, the extension probability, and the extent of the fire before they commit firefighters above, into the truss loft, or below the truss in a truss roof building. Firefighters operating on the roof or on the roof of an adjoining building will literally have a bird's eye view of the fire conditions that may exist in the truss loft. If the incident commander is receiving conflicting reports, a report from the roof indicating heavy fire conditions or heavy smoke pushing out under pressure, and a report from the interior crews on the first floor indicating little fire and little heat, the incident commander must take the report from the firefighters on the roof. The firefighters on the roof or the roof of the adjoining building have a bird's eye view and can see the true fire conditions that may exist in that truss loft. As we wrap up, let's review a couple of points. Number one, this building contains a heavy timber wood truss roof. Number two, that heavy timber wood truss loft is concealed by a ceiling installed separating the first floor from the truss loft. Number three, we have a wide open floor area. When you walk into a building and you see a wide open floor area and the absence of columns, that in and of itself is an indicator that the building probably contains or is constructed with some form of a truss. Number four, do we have access to the truss? In this building, it was constructed with access to provide access to mechanical space. There's a stairway. If you choose to fight the fire, if conditions allow you to fight the fire, you need to stretch your line up through that stairway. There are many buildings out there that don't have the same feature, that don't have that stairway, and access will be much more difficult through a scuttle cover, a vertical ladder, or via fire department ladder. Have a safe day. Thanks for watching this segment of Fire Engineering Training Minute.